Everybody, Mr. Steve back, and we're going to be talking about two things in this short tutorial. Number one, we're going to be talking about preferences and how to create them so that when you open up your add-on, you'll have some options for the user. And this is going to be based on version 3.2 of Serpens exclusively for Blender. And another one we're going to be working on is appending in node trees that you've already made to save tons of time. There's no reason to go back and create modals really, because I mean, once you've made them, you can just drop them back in and tweak them and do all kind of stuff. So we're going to go through those two things in this tutorial. I am not sponsored by Serpens in any way, but I will put a link in the description so you guys can go pick up that add-on. And a subscribe and a like or a super is a wonderful way to support the channel. Let's get started. All right, the append in feature is really simple. Once you've got your node graph opened, you can just click in the append, find the corresponding blend file from the previous node graph that you made. Just double click on it. Don't worry, it's not going to open anything yet. Then you can come through here, find what it is. Mine was modal 1. And once you do that, you can click OK. Now, sometimes it will drop in other stuff, so be careful. But overall, it should drop in just that node graph. But if it's tied to other things, it might drop them in. All right, very good. So modal 1 is here. Just be careful, because sometimes it will import other things with it that you may not want. So just be careful with that. Like my add grid lights, a couple other things popped in that might be tied to it. So just be careful, because it can crash your add-on. Don't click save until you're sure you got what you wanted. So I'm under modal 1. And I always keep my add-ons minimized so that way everything runs smooth. And I'll just hit to unhide that. Now this was a lot of work. I really don't want to do again. And you can see that there are some things in here that did not transfer over. The properties will not transfer. But for this one, this wasn't part of my modal. This was just a basic operator that isn't really tied to anything, because I do a lot of debugging on certain things. So I'm actually going to just delete all of that stuff out of there. And all of this can go as well. Now I want to test this out to make sure that it still works. And I've got some buttons attached to this. And what I mean by that is I have an on key press attached. So I have an Alt-C attached. And that would probably be for my camera. I want to make sure that I have a camera in scene. And if I hit Alt-C, I can see that I can zoom in and out because that's a modal that I made. And then if I come back over, I'm going to test this thing out. Let's pop out of there. Make sure the cursor is to world origin. Just want to throw in a plane. Scale that up just a touch. And then I'm going to grab the orange light, since I've already made that. Bring up the intensity, and you kind of see what's going on. I'll hit Alt-X because that is for the other one. And my light intensity will go up and down. Now I'm not going to show you how to make modals here. This is just an append, because once you've done a lot of hard work, it's a lot of brain work, and you don't really want to sit there and like start from scratch. It's really not necessary with certain things. Now let's look at my other modal. So I've got another key press here, and this one is Alt-X, and I even have a little tag on there. So once you start doing that, you can see what you're doing, and it'll change right here in the add-on for the power intensity. And then for the camera, if I got to select it, Alt-C, you can see I can control that. And there's no reason for me to do a tutorial on how to make modals, because Corza has one that is banging, so go check that out. The man is very smart, and he's got a lot of tutorials that will really get you started in Serpens, so you can make your own add-ons. Even if you don't want to sell them, you just want to solve a couple of issues, like Blender doesn't necessarily natively do everything you want it to do with vanilla Blender, so you might want to add on for something to do with rigging or whatever's going on. All right, so let's do the preferences node, and all you have to do is Shift A, S, And you can put this in its own node graph if you want. It's just going to automatically tie in no matter where you put it. And you can only use one preferences node at a time. So once you drop in your preferences node, just like this, you'll be able to connect pretty much anything you want to it. Some things won't necessarily display properly because I've tried a lot of crazy stuff. But generally speaking, what this would be used for is quick information, some primary settings, and then listing your shortcuts and giving the user the option to change the shortcut keys so there's no conflicts. And this is what I'm going to show you. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is put in a label. And let's see if we can just open preferences while we're working on this. I've actually never done it this way, but I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot. And once we have the label here, and this is actually, just so you know, the Serpens add-on area is, because you don't have your add-on installed, that's where everything from your preferences is going to show up. Whatever else you see there from Serpens will not be there when you export your add-on, so don't worry. So we go ahead and tag this in. You can see automatically LM Studio Shortcuts shows up, which is very nice. Now what I'm going to want to do is put this in a box so it looks good. I'm going to put you in a box today. Put you in a box. Okay, so put that in a box. And I also want a column for what I'm going to do because I want all of these to show up on a column. And we can kind of clean these up so it looks good. Let's go like left to right, down, kind of like you would in coding anyways, and just kind of keep that format. Now, there's a really cool node that we can use called display. Shift-AS, we'll type in display Serpens shortcut. Now, this is going to actually display a shortcut that you have in one of your node graphs. So I'm going to go to modal 1 because I'm certain I've got a couple here, and I can click on key press. And you can see it pops up already as Alt-C. And then I know that one because the C for camera is camera focal length. And so when I type that in, the user will be able to not only see what that is, but they will be able to click this and press Control-Alt-C if they've got a conflict. And so now that's changed, which is really cool. And I can just duplicate this. And instead of on key press, I'll go with on key press 1. And this will be for the light. So I want the light intensity to be displayed. And so I'll go ahead and tag that in. And there we have Alt-X. If we don't want that, we can do Shift-Alt-X because I have some kind of conflict. And now, actually, Shift-Alt-X. Oh, you can't see anything. Let's do a little test, shall we? We can remove that for now. Shift-Alt-X, and voila, light intensity is there. And you can see, well, if I can get it to work. Okay, so it's not really going to work when I don't have a light selected, so I'm going to teardrop one of the lights. There we go. So much better. See, that's nice and smooth. And the what was it? Control-Alt-C for the camera focal length. So if I was to grab this, it still controls it, which is super cool. So now we need to get, I've got 2 more. Not sure if they're even necessarily working because I did an import, but I'm going to find out. And they were going to be somewhere on a different node graph. And I had a couple others pop in. Add grid lights and proximity lighting, or where I had some other ones. So since they're all tied together, Serpens went ahead and pulled it all in. So I would go to add grid lights, which is right here. And then there's my on key press. And I can just call that one grid lighting. And let's go ahead and pull our preferences back. You can always click here to reopen the preferences, and you'll see everything as it pops up as you're working on it. Kind of clean up the workspace a little. And so for this column, I'll go ahead and tag that one in because now it's ready. And Alt-L, maybe I don't want Alt-L, I want Shift-K, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then for this one, there was proximity lighting. And if I'm correct, Then there's my on key press. And that's really cool that it pulled all of those in. And I don't remember even close to what that one was. It doesn't matter. So that one was just Y. Oh, I think that was a pie menu or something. Let me actually try to figure that out. Yeah, okay, so that was add custom lighting is what that was. So if I type that in, I've got my custom tri-lights and all that cool stuff that are in the add-on, and then this popped back up, which is cool because it's the same thing. That way you don't have to use the shortcut, or maybe you're using Y for something else. I've got a little LM Studio thing here. I've got a multi-light setup. A lot of cool stuff. You need to test it out. And then, of course, all the lights pop up right here for your ease of use, and you can just go through select, use nodes, change all kinds of functions. Very cool. So that's it, guys. And when this exports, which I can actually go ahead and export this add-on just to give it a test run. Go to add-ons, LM Studio 6, Mr. Steve. I've got my link to the Blender Market where I've got this, and this is version 6. So now I'll go ahead and close that. I want to save this add-on. LM Studio 6, and I've already got a version of it, but I'm going to overwrite it because I've added so much else to it. Don't move your mouse. I found like that might mess it up for some reason, but there's this little 4-square counter at the bottom. When that's done, it'll pop up whether you want to submit your add-on or not. I just move the mouse away from that, it goes away. And so with all of that, I'm actually going to close out Blender. I'm going to save first, and then I'm going to close out Blender. And don't forget to minimize your node graphs. Go in and hit all, H, hide, then save it, then export it, because it'll run faster, but it's really not a big deal for this instance. And I'm going to go ahead and reopen and install that, and then we can see what all of that looks like, and then thus ends the tutorial. So I'll go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, Install, D drive, Studio 6, there it is. Boom, it installs nice and quick. And if I look here, boom. And I accidentally clicked on the right mouse when I did that. I didn't realize it, but I do remember doing it now. So I would go back to Y for that, and then I can exit out, because now it shows all of my stuff plus my documentation. So if I click on my documentation, this takes you to the Blender Market where you can pick this up, which is super cool. And so if you're looking to sell your add-on, this definitely will allow you to do that. And then I've got LM6 right here. Let's see if I can get this to work. Yeah, that works nice. Pull that up. Go ahead and place that scene in there. Very cool. I left Monkey Biz in there, so I can throw monkey heads in. Too much fun. Let's see if the mouse modals work. The light intensity does, but I have to grab a light. And it works nicely. I'll throw in a camera. I don't have a camera button yet. Still working on it. And that camera is inside of the monkey head. Awesome. Let's Control-Alt-0 just for the fun of it. Can go back to this view, and I don't remember what I changed the preferences to. If I did, no, it's still the same. Focal length is still Alt-C, which was easy enough. So I grab the camera and change its focal length. And I am not in any way affiliated, nor do I make any money off of making Serpens tutorials, but I just got so much help from everybody else, it just makes sense to try to pass that along. I'll put a link in the description so you can go pick up Serpens. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next tutorial.